Hi there, and welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we're going to make one of my favorite dishes, General Tso's cauliflower. Now you could turn this into a General Tso's chicken dish, of course, and I will give tips on that in my written recipe. And in fact, I am working on a General Tso's chicken recipe. But Jeff and I tried this with cauliflower the other day and we're blown away. It is so delicious. I know you're going to love it. All right, so first let's make the sauce. So the sauce is really easy to make. You just need to turn on the sear saute function of the Ninja Foodi. High is what we want. Hit the start button, and then we're gonna add in some ingredients. The first thing I'm gonna add in is 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar. All right, the second ingredient is 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. 3 tablespoons of honey. A 1/4 cup of white sugar. 1 tablespoon of hoisin sauce. Now, I tried to recreate this and make this myself, but I really did not come close. And I think to get that really great flavor that we know and love in a General Tso's dish, you need to just get stuff from the store. Until I can break the code, I've not been able to do it yet. And this stuff, it really is delicious. But a little bit goes a long way, so we're only using a tablespoon. All right, the next 2 ingredients are 1 teaspoon of chili garlic sauce and 1 teaspoon of fish sauce. Now, if you don't have fish sauce at home, don't worry about it. You can omit it. It just adds another little layer of flavor that I just absolutely love. So we're gonna add those in. Then we're gonna put in a little bit of water. I have a 1/2 cup of water, but I'm not gonna add it all. I'm gonna put a little bit into my cornstarch to make a little cornstarch slurry. So about a tablespoon or so goes in there. The rest you're gonna throw into your pot. Stir it all together. All right, so once it's all stirred together, you're gonna bring it to a boil. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and just mix up my little slurry here, just to make sure that all the cornstarch that's settled down to the bottom is mixed in with the water. We'll add this in a few minutes, and that will finish thickening our sauce. Once the sauce comes to a boil and all the sugar is melted, then I just let it reduce a little bit, just until it starts to thicken. You definitely want to stir occasionally, just so it's not scorching to the bottom. And that's a good way to tell whether it's starting to thicken, because as you run your spoon across the bottom and it separates, you can tell when it starts to thicken, because it'll be slower to come back together. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes and I've been stirring and it's been boiling, and now I can see it is starting to get a little bit thicker. When I drag my spoon across, it's not going back together as fast when I pull the spoon across. It's taking a little bit longer. So we're good to go. And we're gonna add in that cornstarch. This is really optional. I mean, you could continue to boil it. It'll continue to thicken, but I like it to be really super, super thick, so it really coats the cauliflower perfectly. All right, so continue to cook on high while you're stirring constantly, and you'll know when it starts to get really, really nice and thick. And that is what we want right there. So now I can go ahead and turn the Ninja Foodi off and continue to stir for just a few minutes. It'll also become thicker as it cools, and it's gonna cool while we make the fried cauliflower. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it out of the pot now and put it into a heat-proof container, heat-resistant container. All right, and then pour that sauce right into your container. Make sure you scrape and get all of it out. It's absolutely delicious. All right, so now it's time to get our cauliflower breaded up. And this is really simple, but it is a little bit of a technique. So I wanna go over that with you. First thing we're gonna do is get our dry ingredients together. And that is 1/2 of a cup of panko, 1/2 of a cup of all-purpose flour, now you could add some salt if you wanted, but I didn't find that it needed it. There is enough flavor in that sauce that we're gonna use to it. You don't really need anything extra. Now, if you wanted to make the fried cauliflower and not use the General Tso sauce, then you might wanna add a little bit of salt or some sort of seasoning to this dry mixture. All right, so now it's time to make the wet batter. What we're gonna use for that is 1 cold large egg. That is important. You want your ingredients cold in this wet batter. I also have 1 teaspoon of the chili garlic sauce, and I'm just gonna beat that up just a little bit here, just until they're combined, and add that in. And then we're gonna add in 1/2 of a cup of water. And actually, I under-measured a little bit and put in an ice cube, so I know that this is super cold, and when the ice cube melted, it came up to 1/2 of a cup. So you do want super cold water. Now we wanna add in 3/4 cup of flour, but we're gonna sift it in. And that is because we do not want to beat this or whisk this to get the clumps out. We just wanna simply swirl it around, because we don't want to develop gluten, which would leave us with like a tough crust. We don't want that. So we want to be very careful with this. And I'm just gonna put a little bit in here at a time. Be very careful as I dump in 1/2 of it, right? Anyway, we do what we can. I could not find my larger one, my larger sifter. Okay, so now just sift this over the top. All right, so once you sift in the flour, then we're just gonna swirl it around just to combine it with the wet ingredients. Remember, we don't wanna overwork this. All right, there we go. Now, it is looking a little thicker than I like to see it. And I think the reason is because it is extremely humid, and the humidity affects the flour. So the flour was a little bit more compacted into my measuring cup. So that is why it's a little thicker. So I'm gonna fix that by adding just about a tablespoon more of cold water. And then I'll show you the consistency that you want it to be. These are the little variations in recipes that you sort of need to go with the flow on, because everything is not exact, and there are times when you need to add a little more or add a little less depending on so many different conditions. And this is one of them, the humidity. So I'm gonna add in another tablespoon of cold water. All right, that looks good. So before it was pretty thick and and goopy and probably would have stuck just like that to the chopstick that I'm using. But now you can see it's just a little bit thinner, and that's the consistency that you want. All right, so now that is done. Again, don't overwork it. Don't beat it with a fork or anything like that. Now it's time to bread and air crisp the cauliflower. So ordinarily what I would tell you to do is go ahead and preheat your Ninja Foodi, either as you're making this up or right about now. But I'm not gonna do that because you can't really hear me too well over the air crisper. So what I'm gonna do is show you how to bread one, and then I will get this preheated on broil for a full 10 minutes with the basket in. And then while that's happening, I will bread up the rest of them. So let's talk about the cauliflower. What I have is about a half of a head of cauliflower. Now, you're gonna notice that we're gonna have a lot more of this liquid left, okay? Maybe not so much of the dry, but definitely of the wet batter. And that is because you can't really break down an egg. One egg is one egg, okay? So you could do a whole head of cauliflower in batches in the Ninja Foodi, no problem. You're just gonna have to adjust your dry ingredients. The way that you wanna cut them, I would say the perfect size is probably about the size of a quarter. So you just take the florets off in about a quarter size, and that should work out perfectly. Now you could do them smaller if you wanted. I've got a few that are a little bit smaller, and they're gonna be just fine. But this is probably a nice serving size if you're gonna put it on a platter. All right, so now we just get these coated in the wet batter, however you like to do that. Sometimes I use a fork and just sort of pull it over top. I think a fork works better. I try to use this. It comes with the coating trays, but to be honest with you, it's just not my thing. It doesn't work as well as I can use a fork. All right, once the cauliflower is coated, then just gently lift it up. Let the excess drip off. And then get it into the panko and the flour. And this is probably better for a spoon. The right tool for the job, so this will work a little bit better. And just go ahead and coat the cauliflower completely. All right, there we go. Now I'm gonna do that for the rest of them. Meanwhile, I'm gonna get this heated up on broil for 10 minutes. All right, so I added a few more minutes of time because it was taking me a little bit longer to get these done. One thing that I would really suggest to you guys is to use a little bit more of the dry ingredients, at least maybe double them, even for this amount. And the reason is because I was chasing it around the whole time, or you can use a smaller container, that would work too. The reason why I don't go overboard with the ingredients, I try to get them right down to the amount that we use, is for nutritional purposes, because on my website I list all of the calorie counts and all the nutritional, and it's hard to make adjustments for what you don't use. So I try to get it as close to the right amount as possible. But you could see we have a lot of this left over, but it's a lot, you know, because it's spread along this whole surface, it would be kind of hard to keep going here. So you would either need to put it into a smaller container or just make some more up. I mean, they're not expensive ingredients. Make it easy on yourself, not hard like I make it on me. All right, so I'm gonna move this away because we no longer need this. And I've preheated on broil for 10 minutes, and I've got all my little pieces of cauliflower. And they may look a little funny right now, but trust me on this, they are delicious. So now what we wanna do is quickly spritz with some oil on the bottom. And then we're gonna carefully lay our cauliflower pieces in one single layer around the basket. I try to do this as quickly as I can. And hopefully they will all fit. Usually I can get a half of a head in here, but looks like I might be having a little trouble with these. Let's see. There is a way to do a double layer, but I've gone over that in another recipe, and I will post that right up there if you want to see how to do a double layer in this basket. I'm not going to do that today. So I'll just do batches. That's fine. All right, so now what we want to do is spritz the top with some oil. And I'm pretty generous with the oil because if you see flour, you will taste flour. There's no fat in the cauliflower to come out and help with that. So we want to do good spritz. Then we're going to turn this on. We're going to go to the air crisp function. We want to take this all the way down to 360. Hit start. We want to go for 18 minutes. Now, I have various size cauliflower here. So obviously these little babies are going to be done a little bit sooner than some of the big ones. So what I'll do is in about 8 minutes or so, I'll check on them, give them a flip, because I like to flip. You don't have to flip, but I like to flip because I like to see how the food's progressing on the bottom. And what I've noticed in the basket is that the food does get browner on the bottom than the top. So I like even browning, so I'll probably flip. You don't have to. And I might take the little babies out and then put a few more in their place, okay? All right, so it's been just about 10 minutes, so let's go ahead and open and take a peek and see how they're doing. Ooh, they look good. Definitely not done, but they look good. Now you should be able to turn them, and the underside is a little bit more brown, which is good. So I am gonna go ahead and turn these over. They feel so nice and crunchy. Now again, if you see flour, spritz it. It's the only way you're gonna get crunchy cauliflower, okay? And then you might wonder, why did I pick 360 and I'm doing 18 minutes? That seems like it's a long time. How about if you go up on the temperature and do it for a shorter period of time? Well, what happens then is that, yes, you'll get nice browning on the outside, but your cauliflower is going to be pretty hard. So you really do need to do this at the 360 for 18 minutes to get the cauliflower cooked through. You could try to pre-cook the cauliflower a little bit, but I just find this to be easier. So as I turn them over, I'm seeing patches of flour, and I want to spritz pretty good here. They look good though. What I decided to do instead of doing a second batch in here is I'm preheating the grill. So I'm gonna air crisp the second batch in the grill. That way I'll have times and temps in case you don't have the Foodi and you have the Ninja Foodi grill instead. Then you can also make these because they're gonna be great. You can even make them in the air fry oven. I mean, it's, any air fryer will work for this recipe. The temps might be a little bit different, so that'll be interesting to see on the grill. Do I need to cook a little bit less time, more time, increase the temperature, decrease the temperature? So I'm gonna let you know. All right, we're down to the last few seconds. And I checked a couple of times, and even though the little small florets were getting darker, I just left them in there. I figure I will go ahead and cut one open, and I can show you if they're like a little too soft or anything like that. They look delicious though. Everything looks really good. All right. Oh. I don't know if you could hear how crunchy they are, but they are really super crunchy, okay? This is fantastic. Oh my gosh. Now, if you're gonna cook them in batches because you wanna make a whole bunch, it's okay that they cool off, but make sure it's on something like a cooling rack so that you don't put them on a flat surface where they will steam and then the bottoms will get really soggy. These are definitely best tossed in the sauce right before serving, okay? Even if they're not super hot, I recommend cooling them here and tossing them in the sauce just a few minutes before serving. I'm gonna heat up the sauce while the other batch is cooking behind me in the grill. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, just clean out the bottom and start to heat up the sauce. Then we'll dump them all back in there and we will be serving up some General Tso's cauliflower. But first, I said I would go ahead and open one up, and that's what I'm gonna do right now. You hear that? I hope you can hear it. It is so crunchy. Oh my gosh. Mmm. Wow. A little soft. I think these are going to be a little bit better. Oh, and remember when I said if you see flour, if you're going to taste it, there's a little bit here. I don't think that's going to be enough. It's going to be coated in the sauce. We'll probably be fine. But it is important to get all the pieces where you see flour coated with a little oil. All right, these look great. Let me clean up the pot, finish up the second batch, and we'll pull it all together and I'll get it on a plate and then we will taste it. All right, so I've got the sauce in the bottom of the pot and it's on low sear saute, so it's just warming up. And these came out of the grill. The difference with the grill is it only took 14 minutes instead of 18 minutes for these to cook. Okay, so it did take a little bit less, maybe 14 and a half. The crunch is good though, so I don't see any difference. Well, maybe there's a little difference. Not too much. And this could just be my fault. Okay, so the difference is in how the inside cooked, okay? So this is still a little bit more gummy and not quite done. So I think in the grill, I might go down on the temperature to 350 and go the whole 18 minutes. I think that will be a better thing. It's still delicious though. Definitely delicious. All right, let's get these mixed into our sauce. I'm just gonna dump them in here. These are just amazing. All right, and then what I like to do is add a little bit of sesame seeds. These are already toasted, so if you have some that are not toasted, you would wanna toast them up first. Add that in. And then toss it around. Make sure you get this sauce coated on all the cauliflower. Oh my goodness, it's so delicious. All right, that looks good. So let's go ahead and take this out. Move these over here. Get the plate. Go ahead. This is not too hot for me to handle now. And I'm gonna pour these out on the plate. Oh my goodness. There's a little bit of sauce left over, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that on top. Oh. Look at that. Yay. These are perfect as an appetizer, perfect to serve with some rice and eat them for dinner. Oh my gosh. Perfect for a snack. All right, I'm going to grab one now and let's taste it. Mmm. So good. My fork touched that one, so I'm gonna have to grab it. Right? All right, let's cut that open. Perfectly cooked cauliflower. So I do like the bigger ones a little bit better. So remember, about the size of a quarter. And if you don't like General Tso's, toss these in any kind of sauce you like. You know, this would be great as buffalo cauliflower bites. Absolutely fantastic. So as always, make it yours and make it delicious.